Now we have two of the leading Charleston celebrities coming on. We have Tracy Amick from Live 5 News and the fiance of Carol Campbell III, and we have the Speaker of the House, Bobby Harrell.
Mr. Speaker.
Hey Tracy.
Pleased to be your other bookend.
It's nice to be with you. Good.
Mr. Speaker, we are broadcasting live over the web for the new SEGOP.com, that little camera is broadcasting live that we're going to save for later. But what's going on?
We're just kind of hanging out here, being Republicans, and enjoying watching, getting ready to enjoy watching the debate a little bit.
Well, we were just talking about this. The South Carolina Republican Party got together last year and released a list of legislative items they want to see. At the top of that was early voting and voter ID, which y'all passed last year.
Yep. And
I'm extremely excited because you know my role in the state senate, and we just passed it about an hour ago in second reading. Still got to go through third, but should be coming over to you guys soon. So I think it's going to be law soon.
I tell you, I hope so. When we get it from you guys, we will see how much the Senate had to compromise, because unfortunately in the political arena sometimes it's compromised to get something out. So we'll see how much they had to, and we'll either accept the amount they had to compromise, or we will not accept the amount and go do battle in the conference committee. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, it was, like I said, the South Carolina Republican Party put it at the top of their list, so I mean, it just shows that the House and the Senate is listening to the party, and I mean, we got good conservative leaders over in both the House and the Senate.
Let me be real clear on that. We listen to the folks back home, particularly party activists, folks involved with the Republican Party around the state. We want to know what people think. We want you to contact us and tell us the issues that matter, so that we are working on things people care about. We understood that this issue was at or near the top of importance for folks, and so we went to work to try to get it done. As folks in Republican land come and tell us what they want to see done, one of our goals is to get those things done.
Very cool. Well, I didn't realize we were going to have the Speaker and a seasoned reporter on camera here at the same time, but do you have any questions here for the Speaker?
Well, I know the majority of the legislation that we actually care about in the media deal with stories that we have to cover, and a lot of those deal with people getting out on bond, people on parole, in probation, who then violate the law again. They never should have been out. That's what we hear from so many people who are viewers. Right now there is legislation, and I know that I actually did a story, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, that the bill was there, but we weren't really sure where it was going to go forward. That would, there were two different things that were on the line that the Charleston City Police Chief was really involved in, as well as Sheriff Al Cannon, just trying to say, hey, if you have priors, we're not going to let you out. Basically holding people accountable and not putting them back out on the street to then manipulate the system so that their trial is pushed back and they're free for longer. Where does that bill stand? I know I'm kind of throwing it out there without the number. But
I know, I'm thrilled that you're throwing it out there. Tracy actually has been talking about that legislation a lot. You and I have talked about it several times. The folks who are opposed to that legislation like to call it the warrantless search, meaning that you don't need a warrant to go search. I refer to it as the warranted search, because the bill talks about when somebody is on probation, they're out on the street, wherever they are out and about, the police having the ability to stop them and say, you're somebody who's on probation, particularly if you or somebody did a crime that hurt other people, let me see what's in your pockets, let me see what's in your car. That's exactly what it's about.
And that's a privilege for them to not,
it is,
they're on the street serving
point.
It out rather than being locked up behind bars, which, by the way, if they're locked up, they can be searched anytime.
That was my point. If they're in jail, if they're sitting in prison, then the police or the guards can walk in anytime and say, show me what you got. What this legislation says is that anybody who's on probation could be stopped at any time and searched at any time to make sure they're not doing something they shouldn't do. The police officer who was shot recently in Charleston was shot by somebody who frankly never should have been out of prison to begin with. Anyway, you asked where the legislation is. Currently it's in the House Judiciary Committee. I talked to Chairman Harrison just today, as a matter of fact, about them trying to reach a compromise to get it done. A lot of the folks who are worried about Fifth Amendment issues, search issues, are concerned about the legislation saying that they can search somebody's home, meaning if somebody on probation is staying with their Aunt Susie or something, the way the legislation is currently written, Aunt Susie's home could be searched. I'm all right with that, but that's the issue trying to get it done. So I told the folks who are fighting legislation, then take Aunt Susie's home out of it. What we really want is when a guy's walking down the street and the police think that this guy's up to something he shouldn't be up to, the police can stop him and say, stop, I want to see if you got a gun on you, I want to see if you got drugs on you, I want to see exactly what you're doing right now.
Which if they didn't have the privilege to be on the street serving out their sentence, they would be searched like that.
That's exactly right. So where the legislation is, it's in the Judiciary Committee. They have either reached a compromise to get it out. Speaking of compromises, like had been said on that bill.
That's how things get done.
That's exactly right. They've either reached a compromise to get it out that will allow us to stop criminals on probation on the street and search them. Either they've reached that compromise or they're very close to reaching it so that we can get that bill done.
Now these are convicted criminals, right?
These are folks who are on probation. So they're convicted. They've gone before a jury of their peers. The jury has said they are guilty. They've either served some time in jail or the judge has said they're going to give them probation, sometime plus probation or either just probation outright. But they have been convicted by a jury of their peers. They ought to be, the police ought to be able to stop them and make sure that they're not up to no good.
Well, I know a lot of our viewers and a lot of people in South Carolina, they just get fed up when they hear, here's the rap sheet of this guy who then committed another crime.
And they ought to be fed up with it. Now, you know, we eliminated parole for violent criminals about 3 years ago. So that folks who've committed crimes since that legislation passed can't get parole anyway. The only people who hear about parole, who are paroled from violent crime, are people who committed the crimes prior to that legislation being passed. But we don't have parole for violent crime any longer in South Carolina. They simply aren't allowed.
Well, Mr. Speaker, before you go, it's a big political evening. Any thoughts on the election cycle coming up?
You know, all of our Republican candidates for governor, all of our Republican candidates for Congress do understand and need to make sure the public understands that they understand that it's all about jobs. South Carolina's economy, dealing with the unemployment rate, raising per capita income in this state, it is all about the economy and what are we going to do to grow jobs in South Carolina. That's what I think the public's going to be looking to hear from the debates tonight. I can tell you that's what I'm looking to hear. I want to get us a Republican governor with whom we can roll up sleeves and deal with the jobs issue in South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was
Great
an
to meet you guys.
unexpected delight that you came by.
Oh, thank you. They told me you guys were in here, and I said, well, gosh, let me go say hey to my Republican
We're
buddies.
just having fun on the internet. Thank you, sir.
Take care of yourself.
I think we have another unexpected delight.
Yeah, we got our chairman.
Chairman.
We need you to tell us about Mr. Campbell's race, but we got to get the chairman out of here real fast too. Do you want to hold tight for a second, or do you guys?
To tell you the truth, I wish you could actually have Carol here, because he's the best one to speak.
Can you give us the 30-second spiel?
Well, 30-second spiel, we want somebody in there who's a pioneer and not an opportunist. We want somebody who's willing to blaze the trail when it wasn't so popular to do the right thing.
And where can we find out more about him?
Carol Campbell, that's not.
Very cool.
2 R's and 2 L's.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks so much.